Alrighty, and welcome to the video game. I am Bahamut, your caster, and on the left-hand side we have ReGen against, on the right, Killer Bunnies. So, going into our, this is just our weekly, these guys are weekly scrim partners, so I've set up like a weekly stream with them just because it's fun to give a little exposure and it's fun to cast some Heroes of the Storm. Thanks for coming by if you're in Twitch chat, I appreciate it. And correct me if I mess up any talents, because I know I usually do. Alrighty, on the right-hand side, we are going to be having the first pick for Killer Bunnies. Actually, excuse me, first ban. Ban-wise, though, it really depends on what you want to try and do here. Do you want to try and force your team to ban something specific, or do you want to just ban out something you don't want to deal with? So they're going to go ahead and ban out the Genji here. Strong hero, but at the same time, it's a smart ban. If you're not going to play him yourself and you want something like, I don't know, Malthael or Stitches or Uther, which I've seen lately as a few first picks, as Genji as well, you can try and force the enemy team to, okay, there's no Genji, so at this point we have to ban out something that we, don't want to let them have, or something that we think is going to hinder their comp. So, it really depends. At this point, you're kind of just trying to take out some strong players or things that you think might weaken yours. So, banning out here... Gul'dan, actually. Okay. Smart ban, actually, because it gets rid of a lot of the wave clear, and the Horrify presents a really strong element in the team fights to separate the team. And there are a lot of corridors here, so banning out the Gul'dan actually is probably a very smart move on the side of ReGen. I'm just curious as to what their comp is going to be doing, that they just want to get rid of that. Or they're just trying to limit the mage pool and get rid of, strong wave clear. First pick here, though, I've seen a lot of just Arthas and... Not Arthas, excuse me, Uther. Uther and Stitches. So, Uther being picked up here, he's just a strong healer to have. That's a good first pick, because at this point now you can lock in your tank, off tank, and typically 2 assassins is what we see. But you never know. You could go triple tank. I don't know what they want to go for wave clear, as well as push power. There's some specialists who work on this map very well, and there's also specific heroes that don't play very much, like Cho'Gall, who work on this map. But with the Uther, I don't think they're going to be drafting into a Cho'Gall. Typically, you usually see like an Ariel first pick up here, and then something like an Ariel Malthael. That's usually a pretty strong... Or the Malthael's banned out. So first pick on the side of ReGen. Picking up your... Because they have the double pick here. They could just lock in, and I've seen them do it before. They could just go their Vala Ariel. Oh, so it's going to be Tassadar Stukov. Interesting. Stukov and Tassadar... Stukov seeming like he actually can solo lane at this point. With the level 1 upgrade, it's just a really, really quick wave clear. And then Tassadar, I wonder if they're going to go into a Tracer with that Tassadar. And then with the Stukov, they can get the silence, so the Tracer really can get in there deep without actually taking any ability damage. She'd mostly just be taking basic attacks, because if you take that growth talent at 1, I mean, that's quite a bit of an area to be poking. And also... Ooh, okay, so they're going to go ahead and pick up, actually, I'm just going to switch my momentum really quick. They're going to go ahead and pick up Diablo, and it's a strong pickup here because of the fact that there are a lot of tight corridors and walls to be actually shoving him into. So that is going to be really, really helpful. As well as with that stun that you get from that, and the overpower as well, to reposition them. You can stun that with the Uther, and then you have the dive from the Greymane. So this is starting to look like a very scary composition on the side of Killer Bunnies. Now, ban-wise, though, ReGen, I'm going to think they're going to want to try and limit the mage pool, unless they have something in mind for themselves. Like a KT here wouldn't be too bad of a ban. They're really thinking on this one, though. Because the KT, I'm thinking, so the Gul'dan's gone, so they've cleared out that wave clear. They're going to ban out Lily, so I'm assuming they're trying to get rid of the blinds here. Because they have to be going into that. They have to be going into Tracer at this point. It's pretty obvious. At least, I don't know if it's just blatantly obvious, but it's seemingly obvious to me because you've gotten rid of Lily, which is just means that you're going into something that auto attacks, and you don't want the response of Lily where she can go into that blind build and just constantly. Because I think it's like 2 reloads for Tracer after a Lily blind, I'm pretty sure. So it's quite a bit of time. And they're just going to ban out the Vala here, which makes sense because you were trying to ban out blinds. So here they're going to want to definitely lock in a strong tank. A Stitches would work out pretty good here. The hook with the Force Wall from the Tassadar, as well as the Silence from the Stukov, that'd be really, really good as a combo. I mean, it has to be pretty tightly ran, but these are teams who practice together, and they're obviously trying out different things. So I would be... And then it's... I've seen them run Tracer before, so I have a feeling that they're going to be picking up Tracer and a tank. Arthas is also a viable option. He's a strong solo laner with his actual base trait, as well as the just... I mean, he just lives forever in team fights, especially with Army of the Dead. So Joanna Tracer. This is interesting because Joanna is a strong... she's strong. It's just you don't see her played very often. The pull from her, though, is a really good utility, especially if you are chasing in a team fight. It gives Tracer more opportunities to kind of jump back onto a target that is escaping, so they can save that blink for a critical, dive or a critical escape. Huh. I like the Joanna. I just think Stitches is a little bit better, but you never know. They could be picking that up in their last slot here, and they're just completely putting all in onto the Tracer. On the right hand side, the last 2 picks, they have their dive damage. They have a strong tank, but I wouldn't be surprised to see an off tank or just another one with that, and then as well as a mage. So maybe a KT Arthas here. Malthael, actually, and a Nubrak. Two characters that I completely just, ignored in my head. The Anubrak and the Diablo are going to provide so much... I'm thinking onto the Malthael right now. I don't know if it really works. I'm just not sure about how the Malthael fits into this. Because I know he does like a lot of good damage into that backline, but the other part is if you have Stukov silencing, he might not even be able to get in or out of the backline. And percentile damage against so far one tank isn't the strongest, but who knows, they could be going for last rites on Tracer? It's a really weird thing, but let's just throw out some ideas. I don't know. I feel like they lack of wave clear on the side of Killer Bunnies. Tyrael is actually picked up here, and this is interesting. Tyrael creates a lot of problems post 16 with the Holy Ground, and I wonder if it doesn't happen beforehand, because Tyrael is just a really all-around good, he can get in and get out. He's a very annoying tank to deal with. So I'm curious if he would actually, once he hits like 16 with the Holy Ground, it's just going to become such a hassle to keep your team together, especially if you're rotating through a lot of the tight corridors that there are on the map. So, on the left-hand side, we have ReGen with Murda on Tassadar, Turtles on Tracer, Shyvana on Tyrael, Ragnarok on Stukov, and Templar on Joanna. On the right-hand side, we have Killer Bunnies with Saberfoot on Anubarak, Asylum on Diablo, Zul'Kan on Greymane, Jewel Queen on Uther, and Trenchfun on Malthael. Alrighty, and as we are loading into this, let's just really quick go over some of the laning matchups we're going to be having here. It looks like I would assume we would have Greymane in the solo lane bottom up against maybe the Stukov? And then you'd have the 4-man rotations with the rest of the team. It's just... I think the wave clear is better on the side of ReGen, but overall the team fight on the side of Killer Bunnies I feel like is a lot stronger. But as we go into our first game, we're going to find out. Alright, so we are going to be having Joanna going for the ReGen Globe talent at level 1, so look to base... that's a definite confirm that she will be doing those rotations, because you wouldn't take that if you weren't going to be doing the rotations. Otherwise, it's very, very hard to be getting enough gems early enough in the game where it actually will matter in the late game. We're going to see the Assassidar build, and this is the growing infestation I was talking about in draft for the clear from Stukov. We're going to see some posturing here in the bush from the Tyrael. He will be backing off, though. Looks like they're just waiting to see if anyone kind of goes into the bush, but it looks like no one will be. They're going to go ahead and push into them. There is a good silence from the Stukov, and a lot of the members don't really... they weren't sure which direction to get out of it in. And that's going to be the interesting thing with Stukov. So we are actually going to be having Tyrael in bottom against the Malthael. There's going to be a huge blind on... Oh, Tracer tried to go in there for the extra, the last auto attack that she needed, but it was not going to be happening. So this is going to be a stronger start to the rotations from ReGen, just because of the fact that they got that extra pick, so then they can really start to kind of get in here. And the nice thing that they're actually doing with the Stukov is they're actually providing vision on the edge here with his silence, which lets the team know they can kind of see what they're getting into ahead of time. This Anubarak is going to be getting caught out, but it looks like it will be okay then. There will be the Uther there to keep him alive. And actually, I didn't talk about this in draft, but there is actually, they are only utilizing a solo healer in this game on the side of ReGen, or on Killer Bunnies. So I'm curious to see how that is going to impact the game for them. Uther is an extremely strong healer himself, but at the same time, I'm not sure if he can burst his team back up to full health enough. And at this point, because it looks like in a lot of these team fights with the duo healers on the side of ReGen, it looks like they are a little bit more in control. They definitely have their health pools are staying up a lot quicker, but they are also the ones who are initiating these fights, so they're kind of getting the drop onto Killer Bunnies. And with this little bit of a quicker rotation from them, they're a little bit higher in experience, but it's a very aggressive start here. I thought they were going to go right through the middle of this turn-in here. No gems have been lost on either team, but at the same time, it's just the experience that they're slowly getting a little bit more of an advantage on the side of ReGen. We're going to have a flip from the Diablo. There is a huge jump dive from the Greymane. The silence does come out to not let anyone confirm the kill onto Tracer. She will be able to tap her well and come right back into this. Alright, and so we are having the 4s popping up here, but Tracer looks like she will get a pulse round onto the Diablo, and he will be falling. So that is going to be the first kill of the game, going over to ReGen on the Diablo. Joanna is going to come out of this bush. They are getting a lot of damage onto the Anubarak, but he will be fine from the Uther heals. The stun does come out, but it does not connect with any of the members of ReGen, so they will be able to just walk away from this safely. And they're going to be holding the top lane while Killer Bunnies is going to be getting the bottom. So it looks like with these rotations, they are a little bit faster on the side of ReGen, but at the same time, Killer Bunnies is playing extremely safe with this, and they're just going to go right back up to top. They don't need to fight. There's no point. So with these just rotations happening, we are just going to take a quick peek at some of these talents. Looks like Stukov at 4 is going into his stacking quest from his, I believe it's his D. Yes. Joanna's about halfway through her first level quest, it appears. Uther nearing halfway. Tassadar about, it looks like a third maybe. I'm off the top of my head, I do not know. Alright. Nubrak will be diving out for that Tracer, but Tassadar will be getting the interrupt at this point. The teams just need to turn in, and that is the first Web Weaver phase, so there's going to be a lot of contest over this, but we are going to see a Pulse Ram onto the Greymane, who does have 20 gems. Will he be falling? There is the blink forward, but the recall gets Tracer right out, so they do lose they do drop the gems, but they pick them right back up from some of the members who rotated back. So they didn't lose any gems, but they lost 2 heroes, and that will push ReGen closer to level 7. Diablo will be trying to rotate into this lane, get a little bit of the soak from there. And that was the pullback that I was talking about really quick from Joanna, that chasing an enemy member is extremely useful, and I think that's what really confirmed the kill onto Greymane. Besides the Tracer blinking forward and the pulse round and all that, but Joanna's pull really kind of set the stage for that kill. Stukov will be kind of zoning out with the sounds. Nubrak will be burrowing in here aggressively by himself. He will get pulled in from the Joanna, but at this point we are going to be having her... Looks like she's going to be getting body blocked by the enemy team. She will have to use her Indestructible, and she will be getting out fine. The Stukov sound zones some of the members away, but we do have Malthio actually flanking into the team. Let's see if we can get both of this into the screen here.
Routing hollow feed now.
So we are going to be having this turn in from the Joanna, at least trying. That is going to be 7s on both the teams. The Nubrak does dive in. They really pin in this Stukov, but the Diablo flip actually saves him from dying, and we are going to be having everyone getting out alive on the side of ReGen. The silence is zoning them away just a little bit further. And at this point, with the turn-in control that they have on the side of ReGen, it's really difficult for Killer Bunnies to try and get into this. And it looks like with that zoning that they did, they will be actually getting all of their gems turned in, so they will be getting the first phase of this, the first Web Weaver phase. So they're going to go ahead and looks like they're going to be focusing on this top lane. Top lane is considered the most valuable on the map due to the fact that it is the boss lane. So the further you push into it, later in the game if you get a boss, it will be pressuring onto that keep. So really prioritizing this lane is extremely strong. And Nubrak actually dives into the back line, misses his stun. The silence does come out. It looks like we are going to be having them being zoned out by their gate. There is a flip onto the Joanna. She will use her Indestructible, but at this point the Uther gets a pulse round onto him. He will be falling. He does have ghost heals for a little bit, so he should be fine keeping his teammates up for the next few seconds. But once that falls, look to see less of an aggressive posture from the side of Killer Bunnies. We can already see them at this point retreating a little bit. Nubrak does have his dive out, so they will be able to back off here. And the Web Weavers do have about half their health left. We already lost the one in bottom. We are going to be, looks like they are going to really be trying to pressure onto this keep. They'll be backing off here. They already have their 10, so they technically could fight this. Diablo does flip Tracer once again. They go right back into the team fight. The pulse round does miss, and they will be walking away with their fort still intact. Now, so they have exactly 50 on the side of ReGen. They can almost get another turn in once they get another 2 minion waves. But at the same time, they need to be wary of the current lanes as well as map awareness and who's going to what turn in, because they have 76 on the side of Killer Bunnies, so they only need, it looks like Diablo can go to 1 or Malthio can go to 1, because I think Malthio has 21, so they really have this turn in guaranteed unless they block both, which at this point it does not look like that will be happening. They get 21 gems off of the Diablo, but at this point I believe 76, they still have enough for turn-in. I think they actually have exactly 55 right now. They don't have their 10s yet, so they'll be kind of trying to play this a little bit safe before they really try to engage this. They want to lane up here. They got their 10s. And I said earlier I was talking about the Force Wall with the Tassadar and Hook from Stitches. We actually got the Archon. The Curse Bullet does come out onto the Tyrael. He is going to lose about half his health. The Apocalypse is there. They actually stun out one of the members of ReGen, but there is a huge storm from the Uther, which gives Malthio the perfect time to just dive right in with his Tormented Souls and just get so much healing off of that entire team. I mean, a 5-stack just healing you up like that is amazing. Stukov will be able to zone the enemy team away from the main center of the gate with his silence, but there is going to be a stun onto the Tracer, who will be really diving onto a Nubrak. That is going to be the first kill of this counter engagement. There is the pushback from the Stukov onto Uther, which is going to be so useful for them. Joanna pulls them right back in, and we are going to see our Malthael falling actually at this point as well. And so we are going to have... This is just an extremely sticky dive from the Tracer. She's going to get another Pulse Rom off to one of the members of Killer Bunnies, and she gets the recall back and saves herself from tower shots and stuns. So while they did get a really, really good counter push in mid, they did lose their top fort, and they are going to lose their bottom fort. And at the same time, my math was completely off, and they were actually 6 short. So I gave them 6 more than they actually needed. But either way, at this point, with 82 on the side of ReGen and 40, well, they're already starting to, you know, drop some off into the bank. Looks like while the lanes were being de-pushed, they could count them on map, and they said, you know what, let's just turn as many as we can so we don't have to run around with near 55 gems. And at the same time, though, Joanna looks like she can go ahead and turn in, and then maybe one other person, and that'll be enough. So they're going to go ahead, confirm this fort in bottom, and actually there's a lot of really, really good lane control on the side of Killer Bunnies. They did lose a little bit of that. They lost 2 members in that fight, so the experience gain was on the side of ReGen, but at the same time, they still got 2 forts from the spider push, so it's kind of this 50-50. They lost 2, but they got 2 forts. So they're going to go ahead and de-push this top wave as best they can. Tracer is actually getting onto this Diablo down here, and that will actually buy some of the team some time to actually rotate in and try and get a pick onto him. But it looks like some of the members of ReGen will be trying to turn in. They tried to beat the Apocalypse stun. It does not work out. Curse Bullet does come out from the Grimmy, and there's the stun from Anubarak. So the blind is there from Joanna to make sure none of the members get fresh with them. And that is going to be a blue turn in right now for ReGen. There is the Divine Storm. Does it save the Uther? It does not, but there's a huge backline science that's actually going to get canceled. There is the Sanctification from the Tyrael. We are going to be having the push from Stukov miss, but we are going to have this Malthael in this backline. He's going to get silenced, and he will be falling before this Webweaver phase begins. We are going to be having Killer Bunnies rotating into top lane. They're going to want to de-push that one just quickly so that way they can get there, because this is a pretty strong spider wave already. And with that talent advantage and the fact that they have the Webweaver, they're going to go ahead and say, we want this top lane, so they rotate right into it. They get really sticky onto the Anubarak. Does the shield save him? It does not. And that's a few gems lost on the side of Killer Bunnies. This Webweaver will probably be confirming a fort. In bottom lane, they'll probably be getting a little bit of damage onto the fort. I don't know if they'll be confirming it 100%, but we will see in a minute. So with the team rotating into bottom lane, Killer Bunnies will be going ahead and saving their fort, it would appear to me. And that is just going to be top lost. Maybe a gate. Looks like they're going for it, but at the same time... Okay, so they're going to be going ahead. They're going to be burning down this gate. I think there was some hesitation because you can't... You know, they finished the Webweaver and they weren't sure where the rest of the team was. So they go ahead, they get the gate, and it looks like they will get a little bit of a stun. The silence is out for the follow-up, and they're just going to be de-pushing this wave. Curse Bullet was used right there, and it did not connect. But at the same time... ReGen can go ahead and just get another turn in if they really wanted. They have 73, so they could bait with the Tyrael. They get a lot of it in currently. Bottom is extremely pushed in. Tyrael has 32, which is all they need, and that is going to confirm it. Tracer's actually getting really deep onto that Malthael. He will just barely get away, though. So 2 in a row, this is going to be another Webweaver phase for the side of ReGen. All right, and we are going to be having this pushing in a little bit, and looks like they're really going to be focusing on pushing into this mid wave. Never mind, they were just pushing it up a little bit. I'm assuming they're going to be going with the top lane because the keep gate wall is gone already, so it's definitely going to be a useful tool for them. No, they're just... Okay, they're just rotating map and just pushing up the waves, playing extremely safe. They have 16, so they really should try and take advantage of the fact that they have a 2-level lead almost. And... Thanks, Bandit. And that they are going to be... so they really can pressure up with this because of the fact that they have 16s, which is a talent tier advantage, and they have a 2-level lead. So ReGen really capitalizing a lot on their soak that they got during this Webweaver phase, and really just optimizing their laning here. There's a silence from the Stukov. The Diablo Apocalypse does come out. Tassadar actually uses his E already. The Curse Bullet is already there. There is a web wrap onto one of the members of ReGen. Nubrak is falling extremely low here. The Divine Storm is out. Nubrak will be falling, but the Sanctification is out, so it's going to stop the Maltheo from the Tormented Souls. They dive right back onto him. He will be falling. The Massive Shove is there. Tracer does start to get really deep onto this Diablo. Can we see both at the same time? Looks like he did proc the camp, and he will be getting chased down here. Will they be able to confirm the 24 gems saved? Tracer is staying in lane, I think, to zone those out. Curse Bullet is there onto the Joanna. They will be losing those gems. They did despawn over time. And it looks like they will be going ahead, confirming this camp. They're going to get this mid-wave pressure. And it looks like with 51 gems, they're extremely close. But at the same time, they need to keep in mind that Killer Bunnies can rotate into the turn-in points while they go ahead and get this boss. But at the same time, they could be posturing around the turn-ins and they, you know, looking for some sort of pick with still the 16 advantage that they have. So we are going to be seeing, though, the Killer Bunnies playing extremely safe. They're just going to lane. They don't want to lane too far out. Actually, Maltheo's all by himself in top. And this is the win condition we were talking about earlier. Top lane is extremely strong because of the fact that it does push on to a keep. Now, usually timing this with the Web Weavers is the best route to go, but pushing up with it the way that they are is going to just benefit them as much as possible. It'll buy them some time. They only need 5 more gems, but with that, they will get the counter turn in on the side of Killer Bunnies, which will confirm them a Web Weaver anti-push, which will help in this top lane a little bit. They will be losing a keep here, but at the same time, they do get the Web Weavers pushing into that middle and bottom. So if they can get a team fight and win it, that would be extremely strong. But it looks like we're just going to be having ReGen rotating away at this point into the mid and just de-pushing as best they can, because bottom has a while before it actually gets to a keep. So while we have some of this de-pushing happening, let's take a quick peek at some of the talents. There is the Holy Ground that we had talked about with the Tyrael, which is going to be causing a lot of problems. Greymane, looks like all the questing talents have been fulfilled at this point, except for Diablo's 13 talent, which he obviously just got. And without the engagements that they could take right there, they will be, you know, at 0 stacks. So at this point, there is a really aggressive posture from Killer Bunnies. They are definitely wanting to take this fight. There's a huge stun out from Diablo. The Divine Storm is there. They end up getting the kill onto Greymane, though, and that is a lot of their damage starting to fall. Maltheo does use his Tormented Souls, but there's the Sanctification from the Tyrael. They start to zone him, and he is body blocked into that corner, so that will be the Maltheo falling still. We only have 3 members alive. There is a huge Holy Ground from the Tyrael, and it looks like that will be keeping Jewel Queen zoned away, unfortunately. So with ReGen, oh no, Tess. Tracer, I didn't even see, was on that backline the entire time. Now they have 91, so they could just get the Web Weaver turn in and then push for core. But it looks like they're going to go ahead and utilize this time to just push up mid and get a keep. Then they, I don't know if they want to send someone back and just try and de-push top, but there is a keep missing, so that catapult should be helping to push that wave up quite a bit. Alright, so we are going to have the Curse Bullet right away from the Greymane, which will knock down the health of the Joanna, but unfortunately, opening like that with just the Curse Bullet, he's just going to get healed right back up, especially with that Pathogen. And I believe the 13 talent was taken, where he just spreads it indefinitely. I do not think he actually took that. But either way, the healing from him is extremely strong. He'd actually uses his arm at this point, but there's a huge lockdown onto the Tyrael, so he will be dropping a load of gems. He does get the explosion onto some of the members, but that will not be doing too much. There is a a web wrap onto the Tracer. She does get right out of it, though. We are having Uther chase them down here, but 20s are achieved on the side of ReGen, so there is a possibility for them to get some picks here. The Tracer is getting so low from that Cursed Bullet, but is actually going to be ending up getting the kill onto the Maltheo, and with that massive shove, we are going to be having the Anubrak out of position, so he will not be able to get anything done, and this Tracer is just pulling this team apart. So we are going to be having this camp being picked up once again on the side of ReGen, and with this, the Tyrael did die, so they did get that kill, which is going to be a little bit helpful for Killer Bunnies, it provides them the utility just to push back these waves a little bit, because they're not going to be taking a team fight without their Tyrael at this point. So, but with that, though, they still have enough gems for the turn-in. Their waves did get pushed up, as I was mentioning really quickly, and as I was looking at the minimap. Top doesn't need to get de-pushed because catapults versus the wave. They don't get the gems or the experience, but at the same time, they're definitely pushing that up, so they don't need to worry about that so much. There is a stun onto the Tracer, but the Uther will be getting away. I was wondering if she was going to get too sticky onto him, but I think the stun kind of threw him off a little bit. So we are going to be having to pull from Joanna. The Curse Bolt does come out. Joanna is a little bit low here. She does have her Indestructible, but she's already used it. The Sanctification is out to counter the Malthael, and this is going to be a dead Malthael, and we are going to be having a Divine Storm hitting 4 members of ReGen. There is the E for the Tassadar to get out of there safe, and that is going to be the kill onto Diablo. Some of the members, though, of Killer Bunnies is falling so low, but they end up getting away into the core. With these Web Weavers pushing in, that's going to be a keep in bottom gotten, and that is going to be a confirmed core. So the first game going over to ReGen. GG, well played. Alrighty, and we are already back into the game. Welcome back. I am Bahamut, your caster. On the left-hand side, once again, we have ReGen versus Killer Bunnies. So, that wasn't very clear, actually. So, on the left-hand side, we have ReGen. On the right-hand side, we have Killer Bunnies. So, last map, we were on Tomb of the Spider Queen. This one, we are going into Cursed Hollow. First pick over to Killer Bunnies. And they're actually going to be banning out the Anubarak. Nope. They're going to go for Genji. Anubarak is a strong tank on this map, especially with the interrupt and the dive that he does provide onto some of these points. And the stuns as well. He's got a lot of good aspects of his kit that help out with the poke, and also as well as just, he's a pretty strong tank, but it looks like he's starting to kind of get pushed out a little bit priority-wise. He's good overall, but I think he's just being over. There seems to be more of a priority of. I see a lot of Stitches. I see a decent amount of Arthas. Tyraels we just saw in the last game. Varian's a high member as like a highly contested. I don't know if contested's the right word, but so Genji will be banned out here, and it appears that on the side of Killer Bunnies they don't really want to deal with the poke that he gives, as well as just how sticky he is, like the Tracer we saw in the last game. I'm actually a little bit surprised that they didn't ban that out this time. Because the reason I'm wondering is the Tracer was really, really strong. And to be on these curse points where you have to fight people, Tracer really excels at that, because the longer they're standing there, it's not like she has to... she has a mana bar she has to deal with, so... if they get the Tracer and the Tassadar combo, that might be just something difficult to deal with on the side of Killer Bunnies. But ReGen went ahead and banned out the Stukov. It looks like they don't want him this game, so they're going to go ahead and ban him out. But Malthael still available. The last game we saw him, he wasn't too impactful. But then again, you never know how the draft can go. I think the Stukov was a pretty decent ban because of dealing with him on the shrines is a little difficult. There's a lot of tight areas that he can control. But we are going to be seeing a first pick Dahaka on the side of Killer Bunnies, and that's actually a really, really smart first pick because of the fact that he has a global, and he's a really, really good asset on this map, which is just extremely large. So the rotations between lanes is so hard to do that you can leave your Dahaka in top, and the curse can be coming up in 5 seconds, and he can burrow, and he's there. As long as he's burrowing into a bush near his team, he is all set. That's definitely an important asset with him. Also, if he saves his burrow, I wouldn't be surprised to just see the Tassadar or the Tracer with this. I'm waiting. But the burrow into top... So say the curse point is in bottom and killer bunnies, they capture it. He can literally dig right up to top and just start pushing. So he speeds up a lot of the rotations that you can create, that you have to make as a team. And he can be that asset of lane pushing, lane control. He's very, very useful on this map. We're actually going to be seeing the stitches picked up here. And so this is going to be a very, very good just... Tassadar, I don't know about solo healer, but he's definitely a strong off healer. He provides a lot of utility to a team that has a lot of consistent damage like the Vala or the Tracer, as we've seen. Counter pick wise, I don't know what they're going to be taking here. Arthas Greymane wouldn't be too terrible. Varian provides a Varian's pretty good in a team fight in this situation. And also, if they do go into that Tracer, Varian Taunt would be pretty useful, and you can combo that into the Drag potentially. So it might be giving them the lockdown, but they're actually going to be picking up the Tyrael here. So Holy... Well... So the Holy Ground you can get at 16, and the Sanctification are extremely useful if you do get into a boss fight. And then Greymane with his Cursed Bullet against the Stitches is going to be extremely important. So they're going to need someone who can burst back up that healing. Now, Uther is still available. They have to... I think they have to lock in a strong healer like Uther. Or they can ban it out and try and pick up the Rhaegar here. I'm wondering what they're going to be banning out. They're actually going to ban out the Brightwing. So maybe they're trying to go into the Uther themselves and just deny out the extra global. For a little bit, I was thinking they might go into the Brightwing for that global, as well as the peekaboo and the shielding you get and the reduced cooldown on the phase shift, because there's a lot of members you're grouped up with on these objectives. So with that, I believe it stacks. So if you're around all of them, you're constantly healing and getting that cooldown faster. I'd have to look into that. I don't know for sure if it stacks like that or not. But there's definitely... There's causality for banning the Brightwing, but I think it also maybe forces Killer Bunnies to ban out the Uther so they can pick up the Rhaegar themselves. They're going to need something to counteract the Cursed Bullet at this point. It looks like they were hovering Uther, but they might want to be trying to pick that up themselves. Nope, they're going to switch to Uther at the last second. So then they have something in mind, healer-wise. Ariel also is still a viable option. Maybe they were thinking that they're going to pick up the Ariel because of the fact that they're going to... And so that way they'll pick up the Rhaegar themselves. The Ancestral onto the Greymane is a useful tool to have, especially in a team fight. I mean, really, realistically, to give anyone a second health bar in a team fight is a useful tool in this game. But I think that Rhaegar is definitely the choice. I wonder if they're trying to... If they said, you know what, we'll ban out Uther in hopes that they take Ariel, we get Rhaegar? And I think this is going to be paired... Well, this is going to be paired up with a Vala or a Tracer. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that's a strong hero in their pool. And I'm wondering if they're going to be trying to combo those two together. We're actually going to see Tyrande being picked up here and Rhaegar. What is going on? Are we doing 4 healers and a tank? So Malfurion's going to be picked up here with the Zagara. So post 10, they'll have a double global. Really good lane push on the side of Killer Bunnies. What do you pair into this? I still think it has to be a Vala or a Tracer. You go for the higher damage mark from the Tyrande. I don't think you go Bloodlust, but it's... No, you wouldn't go Bloodlust. The Ancestral is way too useful of a tool. I think it just has to be a ranged assassin. Like, it seems too... It makes too much sense for it to not be Tracer or Vala, in my opinion. But I've also casted these guys, so usually that's what they go for, unless they're just throwing me off. They threw me off completely. What? So... Illidan. Huh. I mean, the hunt is a good way to get around the map onto some of those lower health heroes, but even then they don't have a lot of squishy heroes. They also don't have a lot of blinds against the Illidan. For a guy who's already blind, they don't have any blinds for him. Huh. This is interesting. This is nothing what I expected at all. All right, so on the left-hand side, we are going to have ReGen with Murda on Tassadar, Turtles on Tyrande, Templar on Stitches, Ragnarok on Rhaegar, and Shavonic on Illidan. On the right-hand side, we have Killer Bunnies with Zul'Kan on Zagara, Trenchfun on Greymane, Jolqueen on Malfurion, Saberfoot on Tyrael, and Silent Asylum on Dahaka. Definitely new meta comp. I'm just looking over to Twitch chat. This is just so interesting to me. All right, and we are going to be loading into our second match here. This is a best of 3, I should mention. So we potentially have one more match after this, so please stay tuned. And there's also some Chair League coming up. I'll be casting Chair League at 6 p.m. Not Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific time, and I also have another match at 8 p.m. Pacific time. So please, if you are enjoying the stream, please hit follow. That way you can be alerted to all the streams that are incoming. All right, so it looks like we're going to be having the slam build from the Stitches. Tyrande will be picking up the Lunar Flare questing talent. Illidan will be going for the Battered Assault. Looks like Zagara is going into... I believe that's the common build for lane pushing. She's already going to be in bottom lane. And I think once they get the vision from the enemy team, she's definitely going to be... Look to see her really pushing into that lane. Okay, so we do already have the Illidan rotating into the bottom lane to try and counteract her as best as possible. But with that Zagara in bottom, and we're probably going to be seeing Dahaka in top, this is going to be a very, very hard team to deal with. But at the same time, 3 healers and an Illidan is going to be very interesting. So that's what the Brush Stalker we already talked about in draft. He's already in that top lane, which, you know, it gives him a little bit of an advantage because of the fact that there is the rotation that has to be made by the Tyrande. So we're actually going to be having Tassadar laning in bottom, and we're going to be having the Illidan going all the way into top against the Dahaka. I would assume we're going to be having the Tyrande rotate back into the mid, or if she's just going to be... Oh, okay. So it looks like they're running the... Let's just take a peek at this. They're going to be running these two together, maybe? Nope, I'm completely wrong. I was looking at my minimap, and it looked like they were pushing into the Dahaka, so I was like, oh, it must be some sort of, you know... mark the enemy, stun them out, bird them, while Illidan just sits there and just gets sticky on them and melts down their health. Peering into bottom lane, we are having this Tassadar trying to clear up as much creep as he can while still just getting pushed in a little bit from that Zagara. So look to see her really, really bully that lane as best as she can early so she can capitalize on it later in the game. Getting rid of a well, the healing well in someone's... lane up front by their fort is extremely useful because of the fact that they don't have that lane sustain. So if there is a curse point that is just by one of these lanes and they don't have a well, they cannot go back for the extra healing that you get from that. So, looking into some of these 4 talents really quick, we are having the basic attacks from Zagara, so that laning is going to be extremely useful, especially against the Tassadar, who has to stand still, so should be able to get a few attacks off of him. Peering into this mid-wave. I wouldn't be too... Greymane's holding his level 4 talent, but I would guess it's going to be a cocktail talent. Oh, there it is. Okay. So this is going to be the first curse point in top. And at this point, there's a prediction that you can make. So it's in middle, top or bottom for the first one. And then it goes to the 2 sides. There's basically 6 points it can spawn at any time. Usually you can predict it by the 3rd because of the way it rotates around the map. We're actually going to have the poke from the Tyrael, which is going to buy them a lot of time here. And I really like this on the side of Killer Bunnies because what they're doing is, with the Tyrael who's just poking them and they're not allowing them to capture this, it gives time for Dahaka to de-push top, as well as it gives time for the Tassadar, or excuse me, the Zagara and Malfurion in bottom to really push into this and almost take down the Tassadar. Getting caught out there for a second by the Zagara through the creep. We are going to be having Greymane in mid, little too far up. There is the hook from Templar, and there is the hook from, or excuse me, the dive from the Illidan, but that will be first blood against Killer Bunnies. So ReGen, you know, talent tier down because of this constant pushing that they have against them, but at the same time, they are starting to kind of get a couple picks here and there. Looks like the Greymane will be holding his 7 talent, and that's going to be 7 talents for both teams. So while we kind of just take a peek at some of this laning before the next curse point, let's see what those are. We're actually going to have the cleanse from the Rhaegar at 7. And that's going to be really useful, I guess, against the roots, or... Mostly, I guess it's going to be used against for the roots against Malfurion. Maybe, oh, and the tongue from Dahaka, probably. So we are going to have a small engagement here against Saberfoot. Some of the team is collapsing upon them, but at the same time, here comes ReGen up into Killer Bunny's faces, but Killer Bunny's is starting to capture this. The hook does come out onto the Malfurion, so there's a huge team fight here. Rhaegar will be falling as well. Tyrael is getting prioritized. So much damage is going on to him. The Malfurion will be able to kind of zone them away with these roots a little bit, and this will be going over to Killer Bunnies. Now, talking about predictions of where the point should come. It was in the top middle, and then it was in the bottom right. So at this point, it should be in the top left. And that is going to be... You're going to definitely want to posture some of your team near that point, so some of the people who need to rotate can just be there already, and the advanced posturing gives you so much more priority for that engagement. But they're going to go ahead and confirm this 4 in bottom. And that will just give them a little bit closer of a experience buff towards this 10. Stitches will be going up here to kind of push this back. And at this point, ReGen, while they are controlling some of these team fights, they are getting pushed in quite a bit with this composition of the Zagara and the Dahaka.
Shall we see who gathers?
And so we should have the next one, and it is in top left, so Zagara will have to make that rotation, and the Tassadar looked like he backed. Illidan did get this hard camp in mid, so that's going to be pressuring during the entire phase, which is going to be a useful tool. The longer they commit to this fight, the longer that is going to be pushing, and it looks like at this point the Greymane will be a little late to this engagement because of the fact that Greymane really just doesn't excel. At least in my opinion, I don't think Greymane excels very fast at camps, especially at hard camp. So he is going to be a little late here, but there is a huge silence from the Malfurion onto the Illidan, but he will be able to get out of there just fine. Stitches is into that backline. The bird does come out for the poke. Greymane is here now, and it seems like they've really zoned them away. So Killer Bunny's having extremely good control here. I think the huge silence onto that Illidan, and also having 10s, they don't want to fight without that talent. So that's going to be, unfortunately for ReGen, they will not be able to get onto that point, and they will have to give that up. Now, they can work on getting 10s. The next point is going to be completely random on the map, so it could be anywhere, but at this point we are having a small skirmish up in top. Looks like we're going to have a 3-man pushing into this gate quite hard. Okay, and then with that in bottom, we're going to have Rhaegar just trying to soak up the lane, push it back a little bit. Meanwhile, in mid, Tassadar and Tyrande have their work cut out for them, and this gate looks like it will be falling against this dynamic duo of the Zagara and the Dahaka. And I actually just want to point out, I was talking about, in draft, about Brightwing not being... I was thinking Brightwing might be a good healer because of the fact that there's a global aspect of her, and getting around the map and having the vision that you can provide from her is quite well, is the shielding if you want to take those talents. But at the same time, I was saying, oh, well, against Curse Bullet, she doesn't have the healing for it. But actually, Go for the Throat was taken, as well as... that's Adaptation. No, it's actually Isolation. So Isolation is going to be there. And then I talked about global talents as well. We're actually going to be having Maw here. That is a 2-man Maw. There is going to be a stun onto the Zagara. There is a follow-up from the Illidan. He will be silenced, and so he will not be able to use his evasion to get out of that. They will be getting the kill onto Zagara, though, so that is going to be a 1-for-1. Tassadar does get his... or does use his Archon form here, and it looks like he's going to be doing extreme amounts of damage. The Ancestral is out onto the Stitches, and with that bird also, they are going to be getting the kill onto the Tyrael. So the two main tanks falling on the set of Killer Bunnies. They do have the experience lead with the way that they've been pushing, but unfortunately the team fight is just too hard for them. So this is going to be a 2-for-2. The next curse will determine who is going to be... The B-steps come out, and it looks like they will not be confirming that kill because the bird just barely missed. Looks like they're actually going to be starting this boss. This is a very, very aggressive choice right now, but it looks like they aren't going to be sniffing it out on the side of ReGen. So they should be able to get this without any contest. The bird does come out, but I don't... Nope, it's not angle. It's just down mid. So that is going to be a free boss. Now, they can make the rotation into bottom, but this should time out perfectly with the next curse. It should be up any second now, which will force the team to rotate away from the point. Hopefully it's in bottom, and it is. So there you go. So that's a boss in top. Dahaka will be pushing up with this until probably the curse pops, so then he can just brush stock into bottom. And that is actually going to be... Stitches has to force himself to stay over there in that top lane to defend against this. And it looks like they're going to be chasing down into this fight here. Malfurion is capturing the point. Tyrande did take Shadow Stalk, so she will be going in on him. We are going to be losing the Tassadar. There is a silence from the Malfurion. The Ice Block is there. The Isolation is onto the Rhaegar, but they will be confirming the kill onto Malfurion. Unfortunately, I was going to say, unfortunately for Killer Bunnies, the Wolfman himself will be able to get away, but it does not look like it will be happening. The interrupt is there from the Tyrande Bird to buy a little bit of time, but at the same time, that is a boss pushing onto now going to be a keep gate, and with that, oh, so it should be, maybe it'll do like a basic attack onto the gate, but with that, that is going to definitely provide them the ability to take this boss. Now they aren't utilizing, oh, Tyrande. The Shadow Stalk in the bushes, or just waiting for the Greymane to get low, and then just takes it. And this is what I was talking about with Tyrael, the Sanctification onto the point. Now, it didn't have to be used, but it guarantees them the boss. They utilize a lot of their boss time, unfortunately, for this, or their boss time. They utilize all their curse time for this boss. Now, Dahaka does have the burrow. They're just going to rotate into mid, so they are getting a lot of value out of this. It's just, typically, the boss right up front is a lot of time chunked away, and unfortunately, because of that Tyrande, they did get that pick onto the Greymane, so they can't be as aggressive as I think they want it to be. But with this fort being pushed up and the keep gate probably being taken out here by the Dahaka and his minion wave, they should be achieving 16 on the side of Killer Bunnies, and this is looking like they are really starting to control this map. Greymane already starting on that camp in bottom right, so that's going to be timed with just about the end of the curse. Dahaka should have Burrow as well as... Did he take Tunneling Claws? Yes, he did. So he will be able to get out of that as well. Okay, so it looks like we are going to be having Illidan and Rhaegar going onto that hard camp, as well as this point, the hard camp for Killer Bunnies will be picked up also. We are having Dahaka doing exactly Dahaka things. He's just going to go ahead and push up this wave and then play safe. Push up the wave and play safe. He will go back for mana. There should be a curse popping up in about a minute, and they really want to try and deny this as best as they can. They have a lot of good lane pressure at this point, and denying the curse point is going to be a massive, massive duty that they have to go, that they have to undertake, because of the fact that if they do get this, it will be, excuse me, I'm missing this engagement up here. There is a huge silence from the Malfurion, but he will actually be falling here. There is a root onto a few of the members, but there is a Maw onto 2, so that is going to be some of the members in the Maw. There is no Ancestral up at this... No, there is Ancestral at this time. They get it onto the Stitch. No, they don't! And this fight just got turned around because that Ancestral hit at the last second too long. Dahaka almost went in for that hard camp, or that soft camp, but it looks like at this point they're going to be pushing up with this mid wave. They're gonna say it's strong right now. They actually... the stun onto them, but they are splitting away from each other, and unfortunately that is going to be the Tassadar and the Tyrande falling. Are they going to confirm the kill onto the Zagara? It is not going to be there, and they can potentially... I was going to say they could potentially core rush if they get this keep quick enough. Zagara is quite low. She does not have as many of the tools as she normally does. And the safe thing here, it looks like they're going to need to go ahead, take this keep, back off, play the safe game. And just at least push up their waves. The point should be available. There it is. Okay. I was just about to say it should be up any second. And this is on the favoring side of ReGen. So it is closer to their spawning point, but at the same time, they are just getting their Illidan back in. Now, granted, he does have Hunt up, so he can hunt into this team fight, but it looks like at this point, they are going to be just giving this up. They're going to just de-push the waves as best they can, soak up some experience, try and close that level gap that happened from a couple of those late game team fights, and especially that curse that was up against them as well. Quickly just checking. Boss will be up in about 8 seconds, so they're going to need to worry about that quite soon. Their boss has another 130 on it, so they don't need to worry about that pressure coming up into this keep, but they're really trying to push them back into their base. We do have this Tassadar coming in. There is a hook onto the Dahaka. He does have his burrow, so he should be able to get out of this just fine. Tassadar is here now, though. He does go into Archon form. There is a huge 4-3-man Maw, and this is actually the fight. That's the turnaround they needed in this fight. There's a silence onto 2 of the members. There is the Illidan silence. Will he be able to get? There's a bird onto most of the members, which will deal not a significant amount of damage, but it pushes them back a little bit and also gives a vision on just if they're going to be coming in, or are they going to be backing off. They go onto that... Excuse me, they go into this boss up in top lane, and this is going to be pushing onto the keep here, and the next point should be quite soon. So this is really, really good macro control on the side of Killer Bunnies. It is scouted out by the Tyrande, so they do know it's there. Illidan does have Hunt, but I don't think he's going to be using that. Unfortunately for Killer Bunnies, this is the same lane the curse is in, so... they're going to definitely need to play safe here. Zagara does have a little bit of vision with that creep. A little bit more further out would see the rotation coming through, but what they're going to do is they're just going to party bush up, and it looks like at this point on the side of ReGen, they're going to go ahead, get the bird onto one of the members, but this is going to be a 2-for-2. So the next one is going to be Curse Point. But at this point, with 20s right on the cusp, Killer Bunnies are going to be pushing him with this full health boss. And Zagara just kind of providing a lot into the backline. Twilight Dream isn't up, and most of the ultimates are up for ReGen, so they can take this fight, but 20 is already there on the side of Killer Bunnies. There is a drag onto the Tassadar. The cleanse does get him out of there. There's a backline stun with the Zagara. There's the Putrid Bile is already there to slow down some of the members. There's a Storm Shield from the Malfurion. A huge silence on just 2 of the members. The Holy Ground locks the Malfurion in. There's the Sanctification as well, so they can just stand underneath this fort and keep it taking tons of damage. Dahaka should have another tongue any second. Nope, there is a go for the throat from Greymane. And we look like we are going into a game number 3 here. If they can confirm this... No, the B steps from him, from the Dahaka already. We are going to see the stun onto the Illidan. Will he be able to get away? Greymane does dive out, and they get the kill on him, so it's another staggered death. And this will be catapults on the core. The GG's to both teams. Well played. Alrighty, and here we go into our 3rd game. We are here on Warhead Junction. So it's all 3 lane maps tonight. That's fine. I like 3-lane maps. I was hoping for some interesting BOE or maybe Braxis Holdout's always fun. I think I actually just named the two-lane maps in the game, so I can't just pretend like they're in common rotation. But and Hanamura, we just don't talk about that. That's not even a map on this game. So first ban here on the side of ReGen. I think banning out the Dahaka here might be a useful tool. It was really, really tough for them, I think, to push back against that, and the overall soak and experience that the Dahaka generated was extremely useful for Killer Bunnies. The Stukov is actually going to be banned out here, so it looks like they're trying to force out the Genji ban on the side of Killer Bunnies. And that's kind of smart, because if they don't ban out the Genji, picking it up on this map it's just a nuisance. The one thing I want to note about it is the fact that Genji has a lot of escape and as well as initiation. The ability to dash forward then dash back if he secures the kill is extremely beneficial to a team, as well as if he gets a nuke and someone starts to chase him, he can just dive over a wall and get right out. So we're actually going to be seeing a Nubarak being hovered here, and a Nubarak has a lot of the same qualities. He does have really good he has a really good just initiation into some of these fights, as well as the stun and interrupt for the nuclear points. So banning him out is a really, really strong... It's a strong move on the side of Killer Bunnies. So first pick-wise, I think it's going to be the Genji, but then again, like, Dahaka is still available, and this is... I don't know if it's true, but I think this is the biggest map in the game. Definitely... The rotations between the lanes are so extremely far. Does anyone in Twitch chat know if the which is bigger, Cursed Hollow or Warhead Junction? I think it's Warhead Junction, but that's just me. So Dahaka here would be extremely useful, and it would save a lot of the time on some of these rotations. But at the same time, you don't want to give up that Genji because you banned out Stukov. I think they were expecting the Genji ban on the side of Killer Bunnies. So they're going to go ahead and pick it up. So ReGen will get the Dahaka. And I'm not surprised. It's such a useful thing on this map. I wouldn't be... I'm trying to think. There's the Genji, of course. I'm thinking, though, if Falstad or Brightwing will have a priority in this map, and if we are going to be seeing an Abathur. Because Abathur... The push that you get from Abathur is really strong. And the cloning for the team fight that you can utilize is really, really good, because especially if you clone a Genji or even a Greymane, because they've been picking up Greymane just about every game, that's going to be an asset that Killer Bunnies can utilize if they have an Abathur player. If not, I definitely think they will need some sort of global rotation. Even then, like, Vikings are an option if someone plays Vikings. I think it's going to be the Greymane because they want to secure those 2 damage dealers. Nope, they're going to go ahead and get Uther. And actually, you know what? I should correct myself. Genji Uther should have been... I should have seen that right away. First double pick you can get, and Genji and Uther open. Divine Dragonblade. I mean, you just do that forever. Now, so... On the side of ReGen... I like the Rhaegar that they had last game. But I wonder what they're going to be going into. And the Stitches works really well here also. I think the Stitches and the Rhaegar would be a strong pickup here. And then you can use your last 2 slots to definitely pick up heroes that... No. Because if you just utilize your last 2 slots for just assassins, then they can just limit specific assassins that counter their comps. So they're going to go ahead and pick up the Falstad and the just Green Monster Diablo. It's the wrong skin. You always use Primeval Diablo. Always. Always Primeval Diablo. But the Falstead here, so they're going to go for the double global, and I'm not sure if they pick up the Brightwing as well, if they're going to really just prioritize themselves on that double global. I have seen Falstead and Dahaka utilized together very well, but at the same time, I've also seen some Falstead Dahaka end up just kind of counter-synergizing. Sometimes they burn both their globals trying to get to the same spot where, you know, one of them could have rotated there and someone could have been somewhere else on the map. So a lot of coordination is needed to run those two together, but they are going to be looking to ban out the Rhaegar here, and that's a smart ban on the side of Killer Bunnies. Nope, they're going to go ahead and consider the triple global threat. Now, I don't think Brightwing was considered, but just taking it out is a... It's not a... Nope, they're going to take out the Rhaegar. The second health bar is too much of a threat. The Brightwing... I don't think the Brightwing was ban-worthy. I definitely think the Rhaegar was a stronger ban on the side of Killer Bunnies. Now, for the last ban on the side of ReGen, they want to try and limit either the global pool or the assassin or the tank pool. Now, taking Stitches out of the picture here might be a smart move for ReGen. It definitely will... Usually when you have the Uther, you can combo it in with the Stitches hook, so it's a stun on top of a stun. And then you can throw, well, you wouldn't get Malfurion. I was just about to, you throw roots underneath him, but then you don't need to do that. One Uther's enough. So Tyrion's going to be banned out here. And Tyrion works for really good poke, but I think the Stitches would be stronger unless they're thinking about getting it themselves. I'm not sure. But on the side of Killer Bunnies, they're going to be looking to probably pick up a tank and maybe that Greymane that has just been... Greymane's still open at this point, and they've ran it every game. I wouldn't be surprised to see it a third time. The go for the throat seemed to work pretty well on the last map, so... I mean, why not try that again? They don't really have anyone as squishy as the last... Well... Not anyone. They have Falston. He's soft enough, but he does have kind of an escape. He does have his barrel roll if it's not on cooldown. He also has the disengage gust. So Joanna will be here. So there's going to be the stun. And you've got a lot of stun. I mean, by stun from Joanna, I'm thinking you've got the pullback from her. I believe it's her W. And then you've also got her shield, her throwing shield? Bouncing shield? I can't remember the actual name for the talent. But yeah, because I don't think you take Falling Sword at this point. Unless you really need it to get away from team fights, or because I don't know, like Falling Sword, your tank's gone, so you literally just expose your entire squishy team. So I typically would not expect Falling Sword here. The shield bash is way better. Or the bouncing shield.
There is always
So the Vala Ariel combo here. It seems to, yeah. There's the Abathur. I wasn't surprised about the Abathur being on this team. I like it. The lane pushing on the side of Killer Bunnies is going to be extremely strong with the Kael'thas and the Abathur rotating. But the threat globally as well as in a team fight... Well, team fight wise, it's going to be, you know, 2 Kael'thas's, 2 Genjis, or 2 Uthers, or 2 Joannas. You know, like, you've got anyone you can pull from for the Abathur. But it's the Battery Vala Ariel is going to be the scary part, I think. And then as well as the Gust that you're going to get from Falstead. So, on the left-hand side, we are going to have ReGen with Murda on Dahaka, Turtles on Vala, Templart on Diablo, Ragnarok on Ariel, and Shavonic on Falstead. On the right-hand side, we have Killer Bunnies with Zul'Kan on Abathur, Trenchfun on Kael'thas, Saberfoot on Joanna, Jewel Queen on Uther, and Silent Asylum on Genji. All right, and here we go into our third match between these two teams.
Initialization in progress. Combat.
This is a best of 3, so the winner of this is our winner for the evening. These are just friendly scrims, and don't forget, in about half an hour, so basically right after this match, we are going to be having some Chair League games. So there probably will be a short break in between when I set the lobbies for that, as well as I got to set up some assets. So please stay tuned after this game. We will be continuing into more. Some of these first level talents. Looks like Abathur is probably going to be going into the hat build. Definitely going to be wanting to pair that on the Genji. As well as it does a very good job of pushing the lanes up. Falstead will be going into the auto attack build. At this point, the one thing I didn't look, Kael'thas is going Convection, so we will be monitoring those throughout the game to make sure that he is, how far along he is on those stacks for Convection. But at this point, we are having a small little engagement in mid. Nothing is really going to be, nothing too exciting is going to be happening. Unfortunately, Ragnarok will be taking a Flame Strike to the face, but we do have a pause. We're going to go quick to another screen. Let me just set that up. All right. All right, we are going to be right back while they fix these issues. All right, and we had our countdown, and we are back into the game. So just a little tactical response, tactical pause at the beginning of the game. It looks like we had some Discord issues, but we are going to be having Falstead flying into bottom lane, and then we are going to be having the Dahaka versus the Uther in top. Genji looks like he will be rotating up for the Vision. Abathur will be in top as well, so that Dahaka will be countering the Abathur pretty decently. Until he just, unfortunately gets those gates down, then Abathur's going to have to play really safe. So this early game is going to be a very great spot for Abathur. If they can really start to snowball the experience and the pushing, Abathur's going to be in a great spot. But at this point, with the Dahaka really pushing in, Abathur will have to play a bit safe, especially if that wall gets knocked down. Expect Dahaka to really trying to capitalize on that kill. We are going to be having the Diablo trying to shadow charge into the Joanna, but unfortunately her Indestructible was already used, so she couldn't be moved. Meanwhile, while some of our teams rotate into these lanes, just checking really quick, Kael'thas is at 3 stacks of Convection, so he's got about 17 more with those. So we are going to be having 3 members down in bottom lane. Genji is rotating in. Looks like that's going to be free at the top for the Diablo. So this is just... And Diablo can just utilize that nuke right away onto the Abathur and dig right down into bottom. And actually, that's what I kind of expect. We are going to be having the Genji dashing in here, but there's so much damage on the Joanna. Does she get hit by the flame? Nope, she uses her Indestructible and stays safe, so she will be getting out without a problem. And the nuke was already popped into top. Dahaka is going to be going in on the Abathur. I'm curious. I'm just kind of like taking a peek at top lane. The nuke will be picked up in bottom, so let's just take a quick peek at some of the damage that was done from that first nuke. And so Abathur really needs to play extremely safe here because the Dahaka does know he's there. We are having the disengage in top. Looks like the Abathur will have to start to back away. And they are playing this extremely passively in the top lane. We are having this engagement. Ariel is getting caught out here. Diablo will be able to zone some of the enemy members away. They do save the nuke, and the heal is there, so they will be able to make this full disengage. Diablo only just took a convection hit. So, no big deal. Bottom lane looks like it's being kind of just balanced out. No one's really winning or losing the lane, but top is definitely getting counter pushed by that Dahaka extremely hard. And unfortunately, because of just his Dark Swarm, he's just clearing out that wave so quickly and just pushing more minions into that tower. So expect to see that fall near the next phase, if not before it, and then having Dahaka rotate around. But they do have this Joanna down here in bottom trying to poke them, but she will not be able to poke them long enough. They do get the nuke out, so that is going to be the first 2 nukes picked up by ReGen and used right away by ReGen. Killer Bunnies are definitely going to want to go ahead and try and prioritize some of the nukes here so they can get some counter push going up against them. They really need that Abathur to kind of utilize his lane pushing, and if he gets pushed back further and further away, the Locust Swarm won't be doing too much work for him, but the body blocking from Diablo is going to be confirming this kill onto Uther. Genji will be rotating in, but unfortunately he'll just get a few shuriken off and just stack on that level 4 talent. Just looking at KT Convection, he's nearing his halfway point. So during this next phase, because I believe the next phase is a 4 spawn for the nukes, they're definitely going to be trying to take the area with 2 and work on KT's convection stacks. Genji is trying to push back this top wave as best as he can to let the Abathur utilize his mule and save that building. Just also a note too, Abathur took mule. So in bottom lane, we are going to be having this push up against the Joanna. There is a mercenary camp that is going to be helping, and this should be timed out with the nuke spawn, which should be within the next 15 or so. Yep. Cool. So that is going to be a nuke coming up, and there will be this hard camp spawned and pushing the top lane with that. So unfortunately, though, there is a double nuke in top, so that's going to be the priority location for the most members. Probably look to see the global in mid or bottom. Fawcett is flying into mid, so looks like they're going to go ahead and just give up bottom and prioritize. They're going to prioritize 2 of them. And actually, so Ariel does pick up the first. They do have the tools to zone out some of the members. Dahaka is actually up here too, but Vala rotated away, so she won't be able to poke too much. She did show in mid, so I think they give them a little bit of confidence. Vala does come in here. She does get a Hungering Arrow out. She will start to deal a little bit of damage here, pushing some of the members back, but KT is working on these convection stacks so well here. And that is going to be 3 nukes over to ReGen, and Killer Bunnies did get one of theirs as well, though. So this top lane looks like it's going to be nuked down. They want to make sure that Abathur cannot sit in this lane. There is only half of it, so the nuke was used and it only took out as much health that was taken from the first time. Vala does dive in here. She does get locked down for a second, and a lot of damage goes out onto her, but they do confirm the kill onto Uther. So that is going to be... Actually, I just want to put... I missed it. 10s were picked up on the side of ReGen. That's where the Rain of Vengeance came from Vala. Apocalypse, Aegis, Gust, and Dahaka's holding his, but I'm assuming it's going to be Adaptation for this match. Yep, and that's going to be Adaptation. So, looks like we are going to be having just a little bit of laning here, so we can just check on some of these talents as we're approaching 10s on the side of Killer Bunnies. Looks like there is a flank onto the Joanna. Will she be able to get out of here alive? There is no tunk from Dahaka, so that will not be an issue, but he does kill the mule, which will prevent them from getting this tower up a little bit further. Do they use the nuke in this lane? There is the stun from Joanna and the Uther. So they definitely don't want to get stunned out during the casting phase because they could get blown up from the KT. Genji is here. So it looks like they really want to defend this bottom. At this point, Abathur is starting to kind of posture very aggressively in top lane to really try and push that up as best as he can. But actually, Dahaka is going to go ahead and burrow right onto him, and he will be getting the kill. And so, actually, switching back to bottom lane, they got the nuke out. They do get the front wall and the well. The nukes are starting to scale quite significantly. There is an aggressive gust into the tower. Apocalypse is there. That is going to be one of the members falling. That's KT, and he will be losing all of his stacks. That is also going to be the Uther, Joanna falling too, and that is going to be a 3-man kill in this bottom engage. They did get the gate wall and some damage onto the fort, but with those counter kills and the Dahaka split pushing constantly, there's going to be a 2-level difference and a talent tier advantage on the side of ReGen. So we are actually going to be seeing the giant killer from the Falstead. And we are actually going to have a shadow charge from the Diablo, and the Genji will be falling here, unfortunately. And that is the worst time because the nukes are going to be spawning here in about 12 seconds. So Genji will not be up in time to at least poke and get at these. The Abathur trying to do his best as he can to push back this top wave, but this is looking like it's going to be 2 free nukes for ReGen. Falstead will be clearing up this wave. And also getting rid of his nuke so he can go pick up another one. And while we are getting these nuke collections and the hard camp over here, or soft camp, excuse me, for Killer Bunnies, KT is back at 0 stacks. Falstead is just over half of his stacks for the seasoned marksman at level 1. There is the stun onto the Uther that he does get the foot, and actually he will be falling here. He does have Ghost Form to get a little bit of healing. Joanna does actually use the Falling Sword. I was wrong. There was no shield. And so they go for the out, and they save the Joanna. She was getting collapsed upon pretty hard there. It looks like KT is posturing up here. Genji did finish his first set of the Shuriken Talon at 4 here. There's a pull from the Joanna. They do confirm the fort. This is still 2 nukes for ReGen, so they can save these. They can burn them on the keep walls just to, you know, create a little bit more pressure. Push that Abathur back just a little bit further. Dahaka will be burrowing into top, getting that hard camp. Looks like we're going to be having a couple members here going on to this push in bottom. So with that, though, we are going to be having, and it looks like a boss. Nope. So they're going to be, I thought they were faking boss or something, but that is not going to be the case. Almost a 2 talent tier advantage. Luckily for ReGen, though, they are going to be nearing 16, but hopefully they, on the side of Killer Bunnies, though, they can get a couple picks, maybe swing that around. There is the Whirlwind out, but it does not get the lockdown onto the Dahaka as they wanted. Falstead does fly in here. They are going to be going ahead, getting this boss. Dahaka is kind of sniffing out top lane, but there is a 3-man in bottom. Now, they do know that a few members are in bottom because that, excuse me, that boss spawn. They do see that it's just Diablo and Dahaka up here, so they can go very aggressive onto these members. So they are going to go ahead and do that. The adaptation, no, the essence was used. Genji does get the swipe, but they actually end up getting the kill onto the Uther. Genji does use his Dragon's Blade. The Tunneling Claws is there for the Dahaka. Okay, and we are going to utilize these one of these nukes onto the enemy keep, and that is going to be guaranteeing a keep with a full boss pushing onto the core. Now we're going to be having the Dahaka coming up here into the top lane. Oh, this Genji, where he does have a dash, so he can juke them, but he goes over the wall thinking they're going to chase him, and he does have the dash, so he will be getting out of there just fine. But at this point, ooh, the Falstead, does he fly? Does he have the barrel roll forward? This is a very aggressive push. They do back off. They're going to go ahead and collect the nukes, but the flight was already burned. Unless Dahaka has his burrow, this is, nope, so they're going to have to make this rotation. And this is what I was talking about with utilizing, they use the flight to try and chase the Genji, but unfortunately it was burned, so they're going to have to just only collect 3 here. Dahaka, no, he already has a nuke, so it's not like he can just burrow into bottom. But even then, still, 3 nukes is extremely strong. And what this also does is it delays the nuke counter, because it doesn't start the 145 counter until, or I think it's 145. The counter doesn't start till the last one's picked up. So once they see that last one's picked up, they can really push into this. So they're going to use 1 nuke. They're going to knock down this, help them knock down this wall a little bit, and then also damage the keep a little bit. A second nuke is already cast down onto this keep that will confirm a significant amount of damage. Excuse me, both last 2 nukes were used onto that keep. They really wanted to burst it down while the enemy team was prioritizing bottom. The last nuke was picked up, so we're probably going to be looking around 14 or so minutes for the next one.
Has destroyed a fort.
Probably about halfway, 14:30, I think, for the next one, somewhere in that range. But at this point, we are seeing that Abathur has been pushed in significantly, and he is not getting the lane push that he needs. Because of the fact that I believe his locusts aren't really making it out too far, because there is a timer on your locust. So once that expires, they just kind of die. And if you're sitting in core, especially on a map like this, see how it's going into bottom? It's not even laning into. It doesn't even get to the midpoint. Now, with the talent tier advantage that they just barely have,
Detected.
they are going to be capturing this boss. It does get sniffed out at the last second, but it's not going to be working out for them, unfortunately. And this is going to be a 16 to 18 fight, so there is just a 2-level lead difference. There is the Falling Sword, there is a Disengaged Gust. Save some of the members. The Aegis is there onto the Vala, but that actually doesn't save the Ariel, and she will be falling here, and that is actually going to be 2 members of ReGen falling. They do get the counter kill. Excuse me, the KT also died. They do get the counter kill onto the Joanna, and then there's the counter kill onto the Falstead. And it looks like they might be getting the Diablo. There are still heals from the Uther, and the Abathur head is still there. Does Genji go back in? No, it looks like he will be backing off. Now, during that entire engagement, I do want to note there has been a boss creeping and crawling towards their core. So now this is going to be a maybe some. Oh no, this is going to be a significant amount of damage onto this core. Unfortunately, Abathur cannot do too much. Now, granted though, I believe it still works this way. They can just put a mule on the core and heal it back up to 100%. So even though they will lose a little bit of core health here, ReGen is going and just collecting some of their health, some of their mana from their core. And that is going to be the mule, as I just said, onto the core here to just take it right back up to 100%. And we can already see it here. So it's going to go right back up. And then on a map like this, mule where you have a boss push and you want to just take it back up from 79% to full shields, full 100%, is such a, not necessary, but it's just such a good utility thing to have. Now, we also have, in bottom and top, nuke spawning. They have globals on the side of ReGen, so they can put 5 men in this. If they see someone on top, burrow into top, have Falstead fly, and they can take that. But at this point, it looks like without having 20s, they're just going to go ahead, capture this soft camp, and then let them take this. So I wouldn't be surprised. Nope, it looks like they're going to save the flight. Falstead's just going to go ahead and just rotate up there. The Apocalypse is used. The Indestructible was already there just to save them during that. There actually is the Divine Shield already up. There's a huge stun from Vala. There is the Crystal Aegis onto one of the members of the team, but we're actually going to be having Ariel falling. That is going to be the first that nuke dropped back onto the ground. The Joanna is falling extremely low here, but we are going to be having Vala falling now too. And that is actually going to be a Dahaka too. Now, excuse me, so they get the Dahaka. It's a 2-for-3 trade. But at the same time, they do have this insanely strong top pressure. Mule took the core back up to 95 health. They called down a second one, which is going to go ahead and get it back up to 100. They shouldn't really be losing too much here, but unfortunately, actually, okay, the Uther's here, so he can go ahead and clear that back out, and they're going to be just keeping that back at 100% with shields. Let's check while we're just working towards these 20s on the side of Killer Bunnies. Let's check some of the 20 talents. We do have the Hellgate from Diablo, the Shield of Hope from the Ariel, the Epic Mount from the Falstead, and it looks like the Apex Predator from the Dahaka. And Vala took Frenzy Quiver, Farfly Quiver. Close. So nothing too out of the ordinary for these 20 pickups. Killer Bunnies is getting really close. Those catapults are pushing into their top lane so hard. Meanwhile, Abathur is trying to just push into this mid as best as he can. It is the one lane he can sit furthest far forward in, so he wants to utilize that as best as he can. At the same time, though, the Locust might be helpful to de-push the top lane because the catapults are going to be pressuring those minion waves a lot harder than the just standardized minion waves. Well, there is an actual stun from the Diablo onto this Joanna, and she just stands still and gets melted, and unfortunately, that's going to be their main tank falling here. We do have the Abathur clone, but it will be also dying as well. There is a lockdown onto the Diablo. The Crystal Aegis is out. They drop the nuke from Uther. Do they have redemption? He didn't take it in time, so there is no redemption for Uther, unfortunately. And that is going to be... Okay, I was going to say it's going to be a boss, but it looks like they're just going to go ahead, push up this bottom wave, and rotate into their core. Dahaka is going to go ahead and Hearth, and he can burrow right back into one of these bushes, especially with the Apex Predator. There he is coming into that bush right there. And this looks like it's going to be a death march to the core against the Killer Bunnies. They launch 2 nukes, and they move right into this core. And that is going to be GG's called. Well played by both teams.